Hey folks, this is Kalani. In this week's WoW News video, the dev team have removed certain restrictions on add-ons, allowing them to access more information and do more things. There's a new cash shop currency called Heartsteel that will be used for just housing-related purchases, which has the internet all abuzz. We have a bunch of big updates for the Midnight Alpha to go over, there's a new Twitch drop coming soon, and the Brutosaur mounts may be returning, but maybe only for one region? There's a lot to talk about, so let's break it all down in this week's WoW News video. Now before we jump in, be sure to hit up that like button and subscribe so you never miss another video. First up this week, a mysterious new currency popped up in data mining over the last couple of alpha builds, and the internet was aswirl with all kinds of theories about what this new Heartsteel currency could be. Well, Blizzard decided to put all of those rumours to rest with a blue post this week. We now know for sure what Heartsteel is going to be used for, and yes, it is in fact a new cash shop currency. Heartsteel will be used for house-related purchases specifically, so any core items that the dev team decides to put in the cash shop will need this new currency to buy them. I really don't like this for a few reasons. Up until now, the cash shop hasn't used a virtual currency. It's just been your local currency. So you can see a pet is going to cost you $5 or $10, a mount will cost 15, 20, 25, a transmog set will cost you 30. You get the idea. When you introduce these middleman virtual currencies, the lines get a bit blurred. It's not quite as easy to see exactly what you're paying when the item now costs 50 Heartsteel. Sure, you'll be able to do the conversion, and the blue post says it should be easy to convert Heartsteel into dollars or currency and see how much the items actually cost, but it is still an extra step that kind of hides how much these things cost. I guess we'll have to wait and see what kind of ratios they're going to be working with. The other main reason I don't like these currencies is because they're always sold in packs, and the packs are never what the items actually cost. I still remember trying to figure out the best way to buy Riot points to buy skins for League way back in the day. That was my first experience with virtual currencies, and I've hated them ever since. Having leftover bits and bobs that you can't use unless you buy another pack seems to be one of the major points of virtual currencies, and it's just so consumer unfriendly. Again, the dev team said Heartsteel shouldn't be that bad, and you shouldn't have too many left over that you can't use, but I will be very surprised if this problem will actually be totally eliminated. The last major issue I have is that with the way in which acquiring housing decor works is going to incentivize you to buy a lot of items. A lot of players don't seem to understand this part of the housing system specifically, but when you unlock a piece of decor, you don't unlock that model to use as often as you want. You unlock one piece of that decor. So when you unlock a chair, if you want to create a table with a full set of chairs around it, you're actually going to need 5 or 6 chairs to make that look work. If that chair comes from Professions, for example, you need to craft it 5 or 6 times. If that chair comes from a vendor, you need to buy it 5 or 6 times. That sort of works fine in those instances. You're making the chair 6 times to be able to plop down 6 chairs. That's kinda cool in a crafty build your own stuff kind of way. But when you add the cash shop into that equation, you're going to have to drop Heartsteel on each item you want. So when you see something that costs $1 worth of Heartsteel, that might seem really cheap, but you're only buying one instance of that item to use, so really it's $1 per decor piece you want to place. Now we don't actually have any idea how much this stuff is going to cost, which I feel like is going to be a huge part of this conversation, and arguably the dev team should maybe have led with the ratios of real money to Heartsteel and some examples of what items could cost, to give us a rough ballpark to see what they're actually thinking. The blue post did say that smaller housing items are often low cost, and you'll want to purchase multiples of them to complete a set. That doesn't really give us much to work with, so we're just going to have to wait and see what kinds of price tags these cash shop housing items will have. Now, I also can't help but wonder if any part of this decision is tied to Microsoft reportedly expecting its gaming division to deliver 30% profit margins, which may have been fueling recent layoffs, closures, and cancellations. That's apparently double the industry average, by the way, and from the articles that I read on this topic, that 30% goal seems to be totally unrealistic. I have no idea if that ties into this whatsoever, or what kind of oversight Microsoft may have at Blizzard, but Microsoft chasing seemingly unattainable profit goals can't be a good thing for us as players moving forward. Okay, so some housing stuff is going to be cash shop only and we'll need this new Hearthsteel currency to buy it, but what kinds of things and how many items will be locked behind the cash shop? Right now, data mining seems to put the number of cash shop limited items to less than 1% of the total housing decor catalogue, so it really isn't that many items. In fact, it's only 19 so far, and there are more than 2,000 pieces of decor in the game files right now. To be fair, the Blue Post did say that anything tied to core fantasies of a player's race or class, any thematically important decor pieces, or anything that already exists in Azeroth won't be sold in the shop, so it should be a very limited scope of items, and they look to be tied to seasons or seasonal events. Right now we've got a lion and wolf plushie, some trees, chairs, hanging lights, a gazebo, and some windows relating to a spring cherry blossom set. The pinks could tie this into the Lovers in the Air event somewhat as well, and then the other items are listed under a spring garden gnome set, which has chairs, fountains, various eggs, some gnome statues, and lamps. This one is probably tied into Noble Garden with those painted eggs, but that does give us 2 spring themed collections which may go on sale in the cash shop right after the expansion goes live, and I would expect to see more collections make their way into the shop as we progress through patches. So a virtual currency is kinda lame in my opinion, but at least the vast majority of housing items will still be earnable in game. How do you feel about a new currency being added to the cash shop just for housing decor? Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Next up this week, there are a lot of changes in the latest Midnight Alpha build, including a lot of add-on restrictions being eased up, so the dev team have taken another step back on their huge add-on crusade. In their Alpha build notes, we can see that they have loosened restrictions on add-on access to players' spellcast information, add-on access to the max health and power values of players, they've made improvements to the ability for add-ons to format secret numbers into text, and made quality of life improvements to various add-on Aura APIs. So it sounds like add-ons will have access to more information and be able to interact with secret numbers in more ways. So add-ons like LVY might have a sliver of a chance to be updated for Midnight. Obviously, it's still going to be a big change from what we have in the current game, but the dev team seem to be at least somewhat open to letting add-ons do more than their initial plan. They've taken a few steps back at this point and giving add-ons a bit more power and information from what the Midnight Alpha launched with, and there's still quite a bit of time before this expansion goes live. Beta will start up next week, which will give a lot more testing information and a lot more add-on developers can jump in and see what works and what doesn't. If the response at that point is still that add-ons just won't be worth updating or creating, we might see more restrictions loosened up. We'll just have to wait and see, but I don't think we'll really have a good picture of the add-on landscape until we've been in beta for at least a few weeks, assuming the dev team are willing to budge a bit more. Now that's not all. Another interesting update in this week's build changes how the pre-made group finder works. When creating a group, you will now be required to choose a playstyle. This playstyle dropdown is kind of in the retail game right now, except it's called Goal. You can set standard, completion, or beat timer, but I don't think many people really use this at all. In Midnight, we'll have this new drop-down. It starts blank and you are required to choose an option in here. So you can set your group to be a learning group, fun and relaxed, fun and serious, or experts only. That gives you quite a few options and you want to select the one that is most appropriate for you, because you can also search for these specific group options when you're looking for a group. That's now an option in the filters down at the bottom under playstyle. So if you've been nervous about jumping into group delves or Mythic Plus or even Raid, trades. If you look for learning or fun and relaxed groups specifically, you'll probably have a much smoother experience because that's kind of the expected environment of the group that you're joining. If you just want to go ham and want pros only, you can set things to experts only, and everyone who signs up will expect the entire team to know exactly how everything works. Making these playstyle options required for when setting up a group will hopefully make it easier to find a group that fits what you're looking for in whatever group content you're wanting to take part in. We also have a new milestone mount to work towards in Midnight. If you can collect 600 mounts, you'll earn the Insurmountable Collection achievement, which rewards you with the Anu Shalar Shadow's Guidance mount. It's a purple void version of the mythic Amir Fire Owl mount, which looks really cool. It's a bit of a shame that it is a recolor, but at least it's a unique looking mount that hasn't been reused previously, and it does look very impressive in the void color scheme. On the topic of mounts, you may have seen that the Brutosaur mounts could be returning sometime soon. Last week there were some data mined file names that pointed towards the Brutosaur mount making a comeback. We weren't too sure which of the two auction house mounts would be returning, but this week there are actual shop assets which point towards the more recent gilded Brutosaur being the mount in question, which is arguably the more valuable of the two thanks to that attached mailbox. We don't have any idea what price point this mount will return at just yet. It was $90 when it was first introduced, so I kind of expect that to be the returning price as well. But from the data mined assets, we can see that it may include some traders tender this time around. 2,000 tender if this image is accurate, so if the mount does return at full price, at least there's going to be some extra tender thrown in to sweeten the deal. Now there is a little bit of a hiccup here. WoW had also data mined some UI textures that indicate this Brutosaur comeback might only be for the China region, which would be another exclusive event or content option for that region specifically, which isn't ideal, and I know a lot of classic WoW players especially are still very unhappy with the Titan Reforged servers being a region-locked gameplay option. This data mined file name could just be a specific graphic for that region though, and the Brutosaur could be returning for everyone. We're just gonna have to wait and see. With how much money this mount made Blizzard the last time it came around, I kinda doubt they'd just re-release it in one region. That would leave a lot of moolah on the table, and if the earlier housing virtual currency tells us anything, it's that Blizzard definitely wants some more moolah. And then the last update we have for this video is that there will be another Twitch drop starting up very soon. If you watch 4 hours of World of Warcraft streams between November 11th and December 2nd, you'll earn yourself the Violet Sweatsuit Transmog set. This includes separate chest and leg pieces, so you can use one or the other, or both for that real workout vibe. This also conveniently coincides with the start of Midnight Beta, so I'm sure there'll be a bunch of streamers playing the beta and checking out all the new stuff coming our way next week. But that's all of the updates we have so far, so that's it for this week's WoW News video. What do you think of some housing decor pieces being tied to the cash shop? Are you worried about the state of add-ons as we get closer to Midnight's release? And what are you most interested in seeing from the Midnight Beta next week? Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon and to all of our members here on YouTube. You can see their names floating by on screen. If you're interested in supporting the channel, you can find links in the description or click the join button just below the video. If you enjoyed the video or found it useful in any way, make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you're always kept up to date. Thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.